Welcome to Sinful's Horror Stories. Today features Independence Day scary stories. What's more fun than a 4th of July get-together with beer, good food, fireworks, and friends and family? Some 4th of Julys, though, all bets are off. Sit back, relax, stay sinful. Story number 1. This story happened to me 2 years ago on the 4th of July. I was 15 years old at the time. It was 10 p.m. and I was laying down on my bed staring out the window, listening to music. Suddenly I saw something fly over the forest near my house and crash. It was a loud bang, but I don't think anyone has suspected anything, because like I said, it was the 4th of July, and there were plenty of fireworks going on and people outside partying. My best friend Mikey lives a few doors down from me. Not long after that plane or whatever had crashed, I got a call from Mike. He was asking if I just saw that UFO fly over. I should mention Mike is obsessed with UFOs and aliens, and talks about it all the time. Anyway, he was riding his bike while telling me that I needed to meet him, to come check out what had crashed. I didn't want to go outside as I couldn't be bothered, and whatever it was that crashed probably wasn't anything special. He was persistent in trying to persuade me to join him. He stayed on the phone with me, telling me he had just arrived at the site, but before he could describe what he saw, the phone started cutting out, and I couldn't hear him clearly. Before the phone died, I could make out him saying, "There are men approaching me, men in suits." The phone cut out and went dead. I got on my bike and rode as fast as I could towards the crash site. I rode for what seemed like ages. I felt like I must have went past it or missed it somehow. As I was looking around, I kept trying to ring Mike, but it went straight to voicemail. After riding around cluelessly for a while, I eventually found Mikey sat down next to a tree. I went up to him and asked him what he was doing. He didn't answer me and was just blankly staring into space. I kept trying to talk to him, but he wouldn't answer. He wouldn't even look at me. I eventually got him to stand up and I asked him what he'd seen. He told me that he didn't see or find anything. I was so confused because this isn't Mikey at all. It's like he was a different person. The Mikey I know is always talking, never shuts up, one of the happiest guys you'll ever meet. All he wanted to do was go home and not say anything. So we went back to his house and he went inside. I couldn't figure out what happened to him. Where that thing mysteriously crashed had gone. I couldn't sleep that night. I just gazed out my window thinking. As I was staring out the window at the forest, I could see something. I quickly picked up my binoculars and looked. I saw 2 men wearing special kinds of suits staring at my house. I went to grab my phone to try to get some kind of picture. And of course, as soon as I looked away, the mysterious men had gone. That night changed my life. Mikey was never the same. I don't know who or what those men were wanting, or what they did to him in those woods. I could never get him to talk about what happened. Story number 2. I'm 16 years old, and this story happened on the 4th of July. My parents were going to stay the night at my uncle's place, and they left me home alone because I didn't want to go. I was downstairs watching a movie and eating some pizza when I heard something coming from the backyard. It sounded like a glass bottle being dropped. I didn't pay it much attention, as I thought it wouldn't be anything sinister. I carried on watching my movie when I heard it again. Only this time the bottle sounded like it smashed, and the sound was closer than the time before. I turned the living room light off and opened the blinds to look outside. I couldn't see anything or anyone, so I took my phone, I turned the flashlight on, and just shone it around to see if I could see anything. I saw a smashed glass beer bottle in the middle of our patio floor. I thought it was annoying, but still nothing crazy, as it was the 4th, and people were drinking. I shut the blinds and sat back down again. 5 minutes passed when I thought I could hear something. I heard a scraping sound, but I wasn't sure. I paused my movie so I could listen to it. It was a scratching noise coming from the window. I pulled up the blind and nearly jumped out of my skin. I saw what appeared to be a homeless man squeezing a broken glass bottle while scratching the outside of our window. I screamed and I watched him as he stared at me with wide eyes, while I watched the blood drip down his hand and watch him smear it on the window. I grabbed my phone and ran upstairs and called the police. Just as the police told me they were on their way, I heard a glass window smash. The next thing I heard was running up the stairs, and what was obviously the man outside, then smashing the bathroom door with his fist trying to open it. I heard police sirens nearby, and this must have spooked the man, because he ran downstairs immediately and out the front door. The police arrived and I explained what had happened. Surprisingly, they weren't very shocked, as they had received reports in the last few days of a suspected homeless man trying to break in and assault people in this area. I hope they find this man because, as far as I know, he's still out there. Story number 3. My name is Dale, and I'm 33 years old. The story happened last year on the 4th of July. I invited a few of my friends over that evening for a barbecue and some beers. The evening went well. It was around 10 p.m. when my friends all left to head home. After seeing them out of my front door, I returned to the backyard to clean stuff up. I saw a man standing there. It was a young man about 19 years old, extremely skinny, wearing a white tank top, blue cargo shorts, and black boots. His hair went all over his eyes. I stood there confused and asked, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" He didn't answer. He then picked up a half-eaten burger from the table, slowly started to eat it. I was thinking this must be some kind of junkie or something. "Can you get off my property now, please, or I will call the police," I said. As I said this, he stopped chewing and then looked at me, making eye contact. The look he gave me was pure evil, like he wasn't human inside. He then pulled out a large knife and was rubbing it across his face. Thankfully, after that, he climbed over my fence and disappeared. I was so confused, to be honest. I thought about calling the police, but I decided against it, as I haven't had the best experience in the past with the police. So I'd rather just leave it there. I packed a few things away and went inside for the night. I had trouble relaxing and later in the night trouble sleeping. I kept getting this paranoid feeling that this weird guy was still around here somewhere. I kept looking outside of my backyard from my bedroom window, just to check that he wasn't out there. Eventually I fell asleep, and the next morning I went into my backyard, and I could see a large knife stabbed into the table next to where he had been standing. Also carved into the table was, "Happy 4th." Story number 4. My name is Brett and I'm 24 years old, but this story happened 10 years ago when I was 14. It was the 4th of July and me and my best friend Caleb were hanging out. Caleb and I didn't have the best home life, so whenever holidays would come around, Caleb and I would just hang out mostly outside, like we would most days. There was an old abandoned warehouse near where we lived. It was well known in the community that shady stuff went on, like drug deals, parties, and even fights that would end with someone getting seriously injured. Like I said, it was the 4th of July, and we knew there would be a big party going on there. And as we were bored, Caleb and I decided to spy on the warehouse and just see what was happening. We walked through the forest that you had to pass through, and when we arrived, we saw there was a party going on. There were cars, barbecues, and people getting drunk. We watched for a while until Caleb and I came up with a dumb idea to sneak inside. There was an old office upstairs that you could sneak into from the fire exit behind the building. We snuck through a gap in the fence, crept along outside the warehouse, and slowly crept up the fire escape stairs. Me and Caleb both looked through the window as discreetly as we could. There were 2 men inside the office talking. One of them was carrying a large duffel bag. Shortly after, the 2 men left the office and headed downstairs to the rest of the party. I told Caleb, "Come on, let's go before we get in trouble." He was telling me we should take a look in that bag. I kept trying to tell him not to, but he wouldn't listen. Now with the fire escape door, it only opened from the inside, so we couldn't just open it and walk in. I was looking through the window, still looking around, when Caleb smashed one of the windows and proceeded to climb in. I was too surprised to say anything, and I watched as Caleb went inside to take a look inside the bag. I didn't worry too much if people could hear the crash, as there was loud music playing. Like I said, a party with plenty of people around. Still, I didn't hang around for long. Caleb took a look inside the duffel bag. I kept whispering to him, "What? What is it, Caleb?" He didn't answer, just put the bag down and started to climb back through the window. Just as he was climbing through, the 2 men walked through the door of the office, and one of them shouted, "Get the fuck back here now!" Caleb and I ran as fast as we could down the fire escape stairs. We heard the fire escape door bust open as we were running. The 2 men started running down after us. We quickly squeezed through the gap of the fence we snuck in earlier. Luckily, it took the men a bit longer to get through, as obviously they were larger than us, but it gave us a pretty big head start into the forest. We then heard what sounded like a gunshot. I could be wrong, but we didn't stick around to find out. We ran as fast as we could until we were safe near our homes again. We were both shaken up and scared as hell. I suggested that Caleb come to my house and try and calm down and relax for a while. We had a couple of Pepsis from the fridge and loaded up my Xbox. I said to Caleb as he looked distant and was quiet, "What was in that bag?" He told me he saw 4 blocks of some kind of white powder, some cash with an elastic band around it, and some kind of assault rifle. After hearing this, the reality of what just happened washed over me. The thought of the possibility that we could have been killed just fell on me like a ton of bricks. We never went back there after that day. We never told anyone until now. Story number 5, and the final story on our July 4th special. Enjoy. I was driving home one night after attending a 4th of July party at my grandparents' house. On the way home, I decided to stop at a convenience store that was on the way. I bought myself a hot dog, some nachos, and a Gatorade. I proceeded to get into my car and drive down the road and pull over at a rest stop. I was eating food while watching videos on YouTube. I was relaxing watching my videos when a large pickup truck suddenly parked directly in front of me. It looked like the driver was intentionally blocking my front path rather than just stopped in front of my car. There were 2 men in the front seat. One of them got out of the car and walked over to my door. He tapped on the window, gesturing for me to roll down my window. I only rolled it down slightly enough for me to hear what he had to say without him having to shout through the window. He said, "Hey man, want to buy some fireworks?" I told him no thanks, I wasn't interested. But he was persistent. He kept saying to just come out and have a look. I was firm with telling him no. It was clear he was very unhappy with my response. I didn't trust these guys. Not only did they look shady as hell, but who stops people on an empty highway at 10 at night to sell fireworks to a stranger? The man got back into the pickup truck, and I carried on eating my food. Upon eating, I saw that the men hadn't pulled away yet, and that their car was still parked right in front of mine. And not only that, I could see both men staring at me through their rearview mirror, while it looked like they were discussing what their next move was. Nothing good, no doubt. I wasn't uncomfortable, but at this point I was starting to worry. These men were trouble, so I started my car and decided to just drive home, having to back up, of course, and unsurprisingly, as soon as I headed off, The two men followed me shortly after. At first they were driving very close behind me. Then they were more aggressive. They started beeping their horn while slightly banging into the back of my car. I was so frightened at this point. I was thinking they were about to make me crash. I could see in my rearview mirror that one of the men was gesturing, while more demanding me to pull over in an angry manner. Of course I didn't. I knew nothing good would happen if I pulled over. I carried on while driving while these two men were harassing me. Thankfully, I saw I was coming across a gas station and pulled in there hoping these men would just give up and leave. Unfortunately, the two men pulled in as well. For some reason, they must have thought I went inside the gas station because they immediately got out of their car and ran inside. I took this opportunity to get down their license plate and drive off. I got home and rang the police while explaining what had happened. It turns out that the car they were driving was actually stolen. The two men were quickly found and arrested. Both men had been released from prison recently. I also found out they went to jail for grand theft auto, an armed robbery not long after. The police also informed me they found no fireworks in their vehicle, which wasn't a big surprise to me at all. Obviously, these men had ill intentions. So do these two fools that harassed me. Happy Independence Day, motherfuckers. Thank you guys for watching this video. Please be sure to leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe for future videos. I hope everyone has a safe and happy 4th of July. God knows I'm going to have a nice sinful one. If anyone wants to join me, comment in the comment section below. Until we meet again, my friends and family, stay sinful.